Hey everyone, it is July 2015. I'm Rene Ritchie, and right now we are going to answer all the Apple Music questions. All of them.
Yay.
All of
This
them.
is the iMore Show. Joining me, as always, we have from stormy Cape Cod, Massachusetts, Peter Cohen. How are you, Peter?
Oh, it's a gorgeous day today, but yesterday I thought I was going to drown.
I figured it was a tsunami. Like it was just that a kaiju came up and the tsunami fell down.
It was just a monstrous storm yesterday. And we actually had a tornado warning in Barnstable County, which is very, very rare for us. So I know that some of you listening and watching right now are like, tornado warnings, we get those every day. We don't get those here.
No.
That's extraordinary for us. So we actually got an E911 call from the town manager's office saying, hide in your basements. Literally, that's what the message was. It was freaky.
Peter was already in his basement, so it was easy.
I know, exactly. I work in my basement, so I'm like, okay, I'll stay right here.
Also joining us this week from her brand new office, Serenity Caldwell. How are you, Ren?
Hello, I'm doing good. Troubleshooting all of the things, unsurprisingly.
So many things.
So many things.
So if you haven't been paying attention over the last
been
week,
under a rock.
yeah, live 24/7, always on, worldwide. It's
No.
Beats
Beats
One
One.
Radio.
Beats
Yeah.
one.
And all the Apple Music to go with it. iOS 8.4 was released with the new music app that included Apple Music. Beats One Radio kicked off. Eventually, iTunes 12.2 showed up so that people on the Mac and Windows could enjoy it as well. And maybe let's just do some quick impressions before we dive into the questions. Peter, what's your take on Apple Music so far?
Well, Apple Music, the service itself, I think is fantastic. Beats One, to be perfectly frank with you, it hasn't really impressed me that much. I don't listen to a lot of terrestrial radio.
Venetian radio for Peter, or Martian radio.
Right, exactly. So, it's lost on me. I really prefer to listen to my own playlists, my own music. But the Apple Music service is fantastic. I've already found and discovered and downloaded a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't already have. And as we've talked about before, Renee, I really enjoy music. I have a huge music collection of my own. So this is enabling me to add a ton more stuff that I didn't know about. I have a lot of complaints. The same chronic complaints that I've had about iTunes all along are actually exacerbated with this new version, which I think is a lot messier than it was before, at least on the Macintosh. But I'm really enjoying the service, and I'm very impressed with it. And I signed up for the family plan so everybody in my house could enjoy it as well.
What about you, Ren?
Well, I think Peter's crazy. And besides the usual, no, I am not a radio person. The last time I really listened to radio was when a boyfriend at the time had Sirius music, and I listened to some of like Sirius's musical stations because I was like, oh, a station that plays musicals. This is awesome. But by and large, I do not listen to terrestrial radio because terrestrial radio is boring and plays the same 10 things. And every time I turn on the radio, I can be like, all right, I'm going to hear Good For You, I'm going to hear Taylor Swift, and I'm going to hear a rap song. Okay, yawn, done, bored, over. Beats One, in contrast, again, I'm hearing so much new music, which is really exciting. And I don't know what it is about specifically Beats, because again, terrestrial radio, I just don't hear a lot that I'm really into. I really like the banter and the talking over songs because it makes me feel like I'm in a work environment. That sounds really silly, but it's like I can't listen to podcasts because I write, so I don't get that kind of like, oh, they're right next to me, because it's too many words. But the little snippets of conversation in between like a song or over a song, I'm like, yeah, dude, I totally get that. I totally understand that. I'm picking up what you're putting down, and I can still keep on writing because it's a lot of really good music. I don't know. I'm really enjoying Zane Lowe's show.
His genre is great, Ren.
Yes. No, he's joking. He's like, the genre is great. And some of the music he plays, I'm like, I'm not that into. And then some of the music he plays, like Courtney Barnett, I'm like, who is this person? And why haven't I heard of her like 3 years ago? And Juliana Noga's show is delightful dance electronica. I didn't know how much I liked working to dance electronica until I started listening to her show. But it is now one of the highlights of my day. It's like, all right, the 3 to 5 block when I'm sort of wearing down and getting ready to go to sleep. I'm standing up at my desk more and I'm dancing and I'm, just having fun. I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. St. Vincent's one-off show was fantastic, where she talked to an 11-year-old girl and made her a dance playlist of like 80s music, which is just absolutely adorable. And I just listened to a repeat of, I don't know what his name is off the top of my head.
Well, I think that Ian Rogers, the senior director of Apple Music, retweeted your joy of St. Vincent.
That's because St. Vincent is great. I don't even like her music's all right, but I really, really liked her show. And I could listen to a podcast between her and 11-year-old Piper for a long time. They're very cute together.
It should be a show.
Yeah. But
how can you go wrong with any playlist that starts with "Enjoy the Silence"? I mean, Blue Monday, "Groove Is in the Heart." Come on, "Chains of Love" by Erasure. St. Vincent's playlist is one of the most excellent playlists I've ever seen, and I say this as somebody who's really kind of blah on Beats One. That was amazing. If they do more stuff like that, I'll start listening more.
Yeah, her stuff was really good. I just listened to the Alligator Show this last hour, and that was really awesome. It was a repeat of a show that I think premiered at like 10 last night. That was mixing really old stuff with some really new stuff and some grunge rock with some oldies and some blues. It was a really good time. And it's the headliner, the main singer for Queens of the Stone Age is the DJ. It was very good. Beats One gives a thumbs up for me. I'm listening to it, which is something, and I don't listen to everything, but I like, I'll tune into when I'm bored and I'm like, I want to listen to music. I will actively go and listen to Beats One first. I had
a really similar experience that I haven't listened to radio since I was in high school, and they had FM radio, and it was really the era of DJs where they found, discovered, made music. And then after that, it became this really metrics-driven, almost like SEO for music, where it was algorithms and stations became fractured, and it was only one kind of music. And it was either stuff you already knew or stuff you thought was alienating to you. And I like almost all kinds of music. I really do like this idea that our genre is great and that it's a service, as Jimmy Iovine said, and not a utility. And I've been listening to it, and I haven't enjoyed everything, but I've enjoyed and discovered way more stuff. I've discovered more music in the last 24 hours than the last 24 months. And the thing that was really cool was it's almost like this shared experience. I went out briefly for dinner, and I came back. I saw Viticci in Italy and Serenity in America talking about St. Vincent's, and I felt like I'd missed out, almost like not in the way you miss out like on the Oscars or the World Cup or something, because those are sort of event-driven events where like a goal is scored and an award is won, but this was an experience-driven event, and it made me immediately want to jump back into Beats, and I never would have expected that. I think Zane Lowe does a really good job. All the DJs, I think, they couldn't get Peter and Serenity to DJ. I understand there's limitations in what they can do, but I think they found some really good people, and I'm curious how it's going to progress week after week, because in the beginning you have novelty and excitement and everyone's discovering it, but if they can maintain just an interest level, I think that's fantastic. And I think I'll start with you on this one, Serenity. I think Apple Music as a core service is super cool too, because it really does sort of, and you can see two sides of this. It's complicated because there are like matched music you own, music that's streaming, but it also does, as Apple advertised, sort of make one thought about music, all your music in one place.
Yes, there we go. Sorry, my microphone was being cranky. Yeah, I think that Apple Music is doing a really good job of not only curating the music that it thinks you want to listen to. I've been a huge fan for a long time of Beats Music's for basically their version of For You. And it's been brought over whole cloth to Apple Music and improved. I feel like my recommendations are actually a lot better than the stuff I would get on Beats Music, where I'd get mostly classic rock and a little bit of blues on Beats Music. I'm getting a more varied and a more well-rounded version of what I listen to. I tend to listen to, a whole wide range of things. I love the variety. I really, Spotify's playlists never did it for me. Google Music's playlist and Amazon's, like everybody's curated or automated playlists, I just get bored by, because you know that there are going to be the same 5 to 10 artists in this playlist, and it's like everybody, oh, you're going to do like a classic rock 70s playlist? Okay, well, you're going to have these 5 people. Whereas with Beats, I genuinely feel like I can click on a 70s classic rock playlist and I'll hear some people that obviously need to be in there, but then you hear some completely, you hear some obscure track from Jefferson Airplane or something, and it's like, oh yeah, this works perfectly. Why haven't I heard this song before? But it doesn't feel like it's not off-brand, right? It's not, we're just throwing in like cheap sounds that kind of sound like 70s rock. It's genuinely, we want to expand your catalog. And I think that's a really, really admirable and really noble, and I don't know, I am really enjoying the intersection. Of course, that said, there are problems.
All right, so we have a bunch of Q&A to get to. The one thing I do want to add, though, and I've talked about this before, is there's this really human laziness factor that at least I find, where I don't want to get up and go to a DVD and put it in, and I start looking through my iTunes collection, and like, no, heard that, and choosing something is hard, but just having the recommendations in the playlist in Apple Music, or just having Beats on, I'll listen to stuff that I might have even chosen not to listen to if it had been a track in my collection, and I find that, both condemning of human nature, but also kind of awesome and inspiring. So Q&A, we're going to go through the list. Just up front, I'll say that if there is something that is actually a bug, like if there's something that is broken, we can try and help you work around it. But if there is something that is because it's a brand new service or because servers are down or something like that, we're not actually Apple tech support. So we can't run to their servers and fix those kinds of things. That stuff we're just all going to have to be patient for.
Yep. Well, why don't we start with the big question of the day?
I have the first one up here. Maybe I don't know if it's the same one you're thinking of, but it's definitely the biggest one we've gotten, and it's from Trevor Thompson, which is iTunes Match still necessary, Ren, if I subscribe to Apple Radio?
Yeah.
Or
Apple Music.
Yeah.
And the answer is it really depends. At the beginning of yesterday, I was like, no, Apple Music is not necessary iTunes Match is not necessary because Apple Music does the exact same thing that iTunes Match does. It scans your library. It looks at all of your tracks. It uploads the tracks that it does not have in the Apple Music catalog, and it matches the tracks that it does have to Apple Music catalog songs. Unfortunately, and this is something that kind of came out through testing and does make sense in the long run, when you match a track to the Apple Music catalog, well, the Apple Music catalog is the streaming catalog. So when you match a song to the streaming catalog and you re-download a song that's in the streaming catalog, it re-downloads as a streaming catalog song, which means that it's going to re-download with streaming catalog DRM.
Can you say briefly what DRM is if people aren't familiar?
Yes, DRM is digital rights management. This is basically put on so that, say you're listening to a streaming service and you decide, and you want to be able to download songs for offline listening on a streaming service. Otherwise, streaming's really not that useful as a music library. So you download, say, 2 albums. Maybe a couple months from now, you cancel that service. If there was no DRM, digital rights management, on the files, you could keep those files forever. And then the record companies would be like, but you were paying a tiny subscription. You were paying us 0.0002 cents per play. Don't take our music away. So Apple has DRM put in for the streaming songs, which makes perfect sense. Again, you're not supposed to be able to keep songs that you're just streaming from a catalog. You get to keep them as long as you pay for the subscription. Yep. Where it gets messy is when you're re-downloading versions of songs that you own, right? So if I ripped a CD on my Mac and then I re-downloaded those songs just with an Apple Music subscription onto my iPhone or onto another Mac, those songs are being pulled as matched titles. They're being pulled from Apple Music's catalog, which means they're going to have Apple Music's DRM. And if I cancel my Apple Music subscription, I will lose access to those supplemental copies. Now, my original file is not changed. So the files on my Mac that I had and I have on my computer, those are still fine. I'm not losing my music. I'm just losing access to those supplemental copies. iTunes Match, in contrast, all of their files are DRM free because they're matching the iTunes Store catalog, not the Apple Music catalog. So when iTunes Match runs its analysis, and you can upload or match up to 25,000 songs from your library, it matches those songs, any song that it can match to its iTunes catalog. And iTunes, as we know, has been DRM free for a number of years. So when it pulls down that track that Apple already has on its servers, it's pulling down the iTunes Store version of that track, which is DRM free, which means if you cancel match, that file can be played regardless. It's not going to poof and disappear. Now, it's funny because the DRM free files that you get from iTunes Match really aren't 100% DRM free because they're still device limited. You know, you can only play iTunes Match files on 10 devices, and they have to be associated with your Apple ID.
Although I think that's theoretically. You can take the file and move it if you don't care about the licensing agreement.
Yes, you can move it, but if you try and replay it in iTunes, you can. I believe you can try and transcode it, so you can drop it in a different file, a different an audio editor, and save it as something else, and that will be fine. But that's the primary difference between Match and music, is that music's algorithm matching is matching to the music catalog, the streaming catalog, which by nature has to have DRM because they don't want you to keep streaming songs. Match is matching to the iTunes catalog, which is DRM free.
So let's summarize for just a second for people who might be going down the rabbit hole. The bottom line is Apple Music and iTunes Match are complementary services. One does not necessarily.
What does that mean? They keep saying
No. So all right. So here's the deal. If you want DRM-free music on all of your devices, then you want to keep iTunes Match because iTunes Match's matching will overrule Apple Music's matching. So if you have Apple Music and iTunes Match, you will get the matching. You can enable iCloud Photo Library. It'll be cool. But you'll get your DRM-free tracks on your other devices.
iCloud Music Library. iCloud Photo Library.
Did I keep on saying iCloud Photo Library? I've been doing this for like the last 48 hours. iCloud Music Library, yes. So everything will, it will be DRM-free and will be fine if you have both services. If you just have iTunes Match, you'll be able to stream your purchased songs and your uploaded and ripped songs to your other devices, but you won't get streaming. If you just have music, you'll be able to stream and you'll be able to listen to songs that you've uploaded from your computer on other devices, but those will be DRM locked. Having both together allows you to have DRM-free songs that you stream to other devices. If you don't care about that, it's a little bit of a sticky widget, I would say, honestly, most people are not going to be hugely problematic by this as long as they have a master library on one of their Macs.
And the pricing is iTunes Match is $25 a year, which works out to $2 and change a month. So if you want to keep it, it's not a massive impact. I'm going to keep it because I read your article and I decided that it's important enough to me as a hater of all things DRM to pay the extra $2 and keep it. But I think most people, if $2 is really a lot for them, they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not the end of the world if you have tracks on supplemental devices that are DRM encrypted. Does it suck? Is it anti-Apple's mission? A little bit. I imagine this is a concession that they had to make to the record companies to keep their pricing at $9.99. I know Google Music does something similar and still manages to keep its $9.99 price, but Google also constantly, like Amazon, undercuts what they actually think they should pay for it. And I don't know entirely how Google's service works. I'm going to be digging into that next week. But regardless, if you have iTunes Match and you are debating whether or not to cancel your subscription while you have Apple Music, the answer is, do you care about DRM? If yes, then keep your iTunes service or iTunes Match service. If no, then you can cancel it and just use Apple Music. And remember, you can always reactivate Match. So if you just use Apple Music solely for a while, and then before Apple Music ends, you want to turn Match back on again because you don't want the files on your other devices to be DRM locked, you can do that. That's okay.
This is all way too complicated for human beings, and I wish it was communicated better, but I blame record labels for all this.
It is, but I also blame Apple. Apple decided for whatever reason that now is the right time to rebrand iTunes Match and iTunes in the Cloud as iTunes
Music library,
and that is also a source of confusion. So I wish that iCloud Music Library had been their nomenclature for this from the start. That might have made more sense. I understand iCloud Music Library more than iTunes Match or iTunes in the cloud. But, it is what it is. The bottom line here is that if you subscribe to iTunes or Apple Music and you start downloading albums that you like from Apple Music, expect them to go away if your Apple Music account is canceled. This doesn't get you off the hook from having to buy a copy of that album if you want to keep it. Now, you are welcome to do that, buy that album or song from iTunes or from another music service like eMusic or Amazon Music or wherever you prefer to download your music from. Or if you're living in the 90s, you can go to the record store or Walmart or whatever and buy your copy on CD and rip it the good old-fashioned way as well. The bottom line is Apple Music is just renting those songs, even if they've been downloaded locally to your iOS device or your Mac or your PC. And if you cancel your service once the trial is up, you are going to lose those. I was experimenting with this yesterday with iTunes by toggling my account on and off, and I would watch the stuff that I had just downloaded from Apple Music that was already in my library disappear out of the blue. And it's a little scary when that happens because you're seeing files that you think are on your Mac just go away all of a sudden, and oh God, I don't want I don't want some strange server reaching its tentacles out to my machine and grabbing stuff off there. But the bottom line is, with Apple Music, you're renting your music. With iTunes Match, with downloading stuff from iTunes and other services, you're actually owning it.
All right. So I don't know.
This, by the way, is exactly what Steve Jobs was talking about all those years ago, guys.
Oh, absolutely.
So the future is here, and unfortunately, it's messy.
Well, it's the same thing like Netflix versus buying stuff on iTunes Video. You buy it on iTunes Video, it's yours. You watch it on Netflix, it's a stream, and it doesn't even allow local caching. I mean, everything is just so broken. Mm-hmm. I go on an airplane and I can't watch Daredevil. It's just not a good world. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to tell you about lynda.com. Lynda.com is the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/iMore. That's lynda.com/iMore. Lynda.com, who is it for? It is for problem solvers, for the curious, for people who want to make things happen. Maybe you want to master Excel, learn negotiation tactics, build a website, boost your Photoshop skills. Go to lynda.com and feed your curious mind. I have a great example for you. Along with all the Apple Music stuff that just came out, there's a new version of GarageBand that sort of adds all the techno, the funk, the hip hop, the electronic dance music into the mix. There's a bunch of new drums, there's a bunch of new sounds, a bunch of synths. It's pretty fantastic. But if you've never tried GarageBand before, as easy as Apple makes it, you might need a little bit of help to get the most possible out of it. I mean, I have absolutely no musical skill or talent whatsoever, and I used Lynda to sort of get going originally with GarageBand, and then again with Logic Pro when I was ready to move up to that. And it's a great example of being able to take something that you love, which might be music, and learn how to not only enjoy it, but create it to sort of not just have to listen to it anymore, but actively participate in it. And instead of just staring at this interface, pushing buttons and hoping for the best, you can have actual expert instructions. You can have the pros teach you in a step-by-step manner in easily digestible amounts, as little or as much, a few minutes, a few hours, whatever you want, as much as you can get out of it. They can just help you learn how to use this software. With a Lynda membership, you can watch and learn from top experts who are passionate about teaching, stream thousands of video courses on demand, and learn at your own schedule. The courses are structured so you can watch them from start to finish or consume them in bite-sized pieces. You can browse each course transcript or follow along, search for an answer, skip to that point in the video. You can take notes and refer back to them later. You can download tutorials and watch them on the go, including on iOS or Android. You can create and save playlists of courses you want to watch, customize your learning path, share them with friends, colleagues, and team members. Actually, lynda.com, if you have an organization, it's a great thing to give people in that organization. It helps them build better skills. It helps you make better products or better services, and that benefits everybody. So here's what I want you to do. I'd like you to go to lynda.com and try it out. Your membership will give you unlimited access to training on hundreds of topics, all for one flat rate. Whether you're looking to become an industry expert, you're passionate about a hobby, or you just want to learn something new, go to lynda.com/iMore and sign up now for a absolutely free 10-day trial. Really, it seriously is like hacking information straight from the internet, matrix style, into your brain. That's lynda.com, lynda.com/iMore, IMORE. Thanks, Lynda. All right, next question from Daddy Geek BP Adair on Twitter. Is there a way to save songs from Beats One to my music? If so, I haven't found it yet.
From Beats One to your music, in theory, yes, you should be able to tap the add to my music thing from the ellipses button. Unfortunately, I think it's buggy right now.
Yeah.
I've been able to do it like half of the time on iOS, none of the time on OS 10. And the same thing, search in iTunes Store does not work on OS 10 right now, which is a bummer. But yeah, I am not surprised, and I'll put it out right here. There are a lot of bugs in iTunes,
Yep.
and I mean, surprise. There are a lot of bugs in iTunes. There are a lot of bugs in the music app. If you run into one, if you see something that's quirky and that's weird and that doesn't make sense, chances are that Apple's engineers are running around like chickens with their heads cut off at Cupertino, being like, "How do we fix this? How do we fix this? How do we fix this?" So anything that you're running into that's like that, don't panic. It will happen. It's just, yeah, you're probably stuck with a little bit of bugs right now. That's
there's also some stuff that's really like you can heart songs on Beats Radio sometimes, but some of the songs can't be. I understand maybe from a licensing or rights perspective why that is, but from a user perspective, that's very vexing.
So I sort of dug into that a little bit. That looks like a bug and not a licensing issue, because I was having this problem when Beats first started, where some songs were popping up just fine, and then some songs were popping up without a heart icon. And I was like, that's really weird. Turns out if you pull up Control Center, you can still heart it, and you can heart it from the lock screen. And most of the tracks that I wanted to heart, they have in the Apple Music catalog. So it's not a rights issue, just sounds like a software bug.
All right, so more bugs.
More bugs.
Peter, why is my purchased music not appearing in Apple Music? Some tracks do and some tracks don't. More bugs?
Purchased music not appearing in Apple Music. Some tracks do and some tracks don't. Apple Music is not the same as the iTunes catalog. Not everything that's in the iTunes catalog is available in Apple Music. There's certainly a lot of crossover. There's millions of songs, but it's not a one-to-one relationship. So it's entirely possible that there might be stuff that you've purchased from iTunes that just isn't available in Apple Music. As long as the stuff's still, still part of your catalog and still available for download from iTunes, you don't have anything to worry about.
And I'll add that there could also be bugs.
Yeah, there could, and bugs are definitely a possibility. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so now this one is actually complicated. I'm going to throw it your way at first because I'm not a, I don't know. I'm just going to throw it your way. How can Apple claim that low bitrate AAC compressed audio can be as good as high bitrate downloads from Tidal? Is AAC lossless?
AAC is not lossless.
No.
AAC's compression scheme is, what does Tidal even use?
It uses what's his name?
Unicorn Blood?
I don't know. I think Ren's, you're still muted, Ren. Sorry.
Tidal Music uses legitimate lossless files.
There you go.
Which is, yeah, that is going to be by nature slightly better than any compression. However, lossless files are big, which means that they're going to be a little bit tougher on your data to stream, and they're going to be a little bit longer to download directly to your device. Apple's AAC compression has by nature been very, very good. And I have had no complaints with it. Even streaming over LTE, Apple automatically adjusts the bitrate depending on what you're streaming over so as not to kill your data connection. If you really, really, really care about things being super lossless and super uncompressed, and you can hear the static and the crumbling of lossy files, then yes, you probably want Tidal over Apple Music. Apple Music's not claiming that their music is better than Tidal. What they're saying is that they are comparable to pretty much every other streaming service, which they are. AAC compression is a lot better than what Spotify is using.
I'm going to channel my inner Don Melton for a second, though, and just remind people that in ABX testing, where you don't know what the sample is, even if you think you're a golden ears and you think that you can hear every detail in music, you cannot. Most compression, when it gets over a certain amount, is indistinguishable to human ears because we are not perfect machines. We are very, very imperfect machines that are also really, really good at pattern recognition and filling in blanks and doing a lot of things that make lossy compression a really smart way to handle compression. And what most people actually want when they hear lossless music is because it's been remastered for lossless music, and it's the remastering that makes the difference, not the lossless format. Remastered audio played in a lossy format can sound almost indistinguishably good compared to that. So my wish is not so much for lossless music, but for really good mastered music. Sorry, Peter, I cut you off for a second.
No, that actually goes exactly to my point, which is, your mileage may vary, as in all things. If you are, an audiophile or somebody who really loves their music, and you've noticed that, the quality of the stuff that you listen to on Apple Music services, whether it's iTunes or Apple Music or what have you, is not up to par with what your expectation is, get your music from somewhere else. That's your choice. The fact of the matter is that for the vast majority of people who are listening, it's going to be good enough, and it's going to be, indistinguishable from any other service that they could get. So if Tidal suits you better, brother, use Tidal. If if Apple Music is okay, then use Apple Music. But
I have a sneaky suspicion Apple Music will outlast Tidal.
Yeah, I mean,
You never know. Yeah.
not to sound too chauvinistic about it, but yeah, my money is on the Apple service. So, it's like anything. Some people are going to notice a big difference. We all know those people in our lives who do have golden ears and can really tell the difference between 256K AAC and 320K MP3 and ALAC and FLAC and the rest of it, and more power to them if they can. I'm lucky if I can hear the difference between 128 and 192. I'm not that sophisticated a listener, and I listen to a lot of music. I just don't necessarily have hearing that's tuned for that kind of stuff. And a lot of
Peter, I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to hurry us through this because we've got so many questions backing up.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. We've all said our piece on it.
All right, so can anyone explain how Connect works on iTunes on the Mac? How do I follow people? How do I find artists?
I've got this one. I'm actually going to screen share my...
I forgot about screen sharing. So
yeah, screen sharing is the best. Okay, so let me pop up iTunes for a second, and we'll talk through this real quick. All right, so here we go. We've got iTunes. Yay, iTunes. The easiest way to find artists in Connect or anywhere is to just use the search fields. So if I look up, say, Courtney Burnett, who I am obsessed with right now. I have top results, artist. You click on her artist page, and then there's a big giant button that says follow. And you just click that, then you're following them, and then you can see them in Connect. Easy as that. And then
if you're listening at home, then she just went to iTunes and started searching right from the main search field.
Yes, you go to iTunes, you search from the main search field, you type in the artist that you're looking for, and then click on the artist page, click on follow, and then they will pop up in your Connect field if they have been sharing anything. Likewise, if you see something in Connect that you want to unfollow, you just click on the artist name. I don't know why I'm following Robin, but I am unfollowing her.
Ouch, I'm sorry, Robin.
Sorry, Robin. I like some of your music. It's all good. And then when you go back to Connect, they will be gone from that.
Thank you so much for explaining this, Ren, because I've been staring at Connect for the past day going, why is this so useless?
Yeah, it's really simple to use it. You just have to remember it's not it's part of the overall iTunes / Apple Music iOS genre.
Yeah. All right, so this one, I don't know if we can answer this one, but Matthew Swainton, I'm sorry, that was Bruce G on Twitter who asked that. Matthew Swainton is asking, here's a challenge. Explain why Apple has two different US to UK rates in the App Store. Apps are 7 pence equals 97 pennies, equals 90 pence, like I'm Mark Twain. 79 pennies equals 99 cents, but music is 9.99 equals 9.99. You, sir, have stumbled upon the vagaries of international money trade and other deals. Apple makes a relationship with developers so they can say we're going to normalize prices, we're going to account for things like VAT and anything else that happens to be regionally focused. Apple is dealing with record labels in other countries, and in this case it looks like it's able to offer a better deal than it can otherwise. So I would just be super happy and take it for as long as it lasts, because at some point it might get adjusted, and it's never adjusted in our favor. Yep, agreed. And yeah, for the
house
Europe,
always wins.
Sadly. Sorry guys. All right, so Heinrich Wanheden, which is Heinrich2 on Twitter. Does Apple pay the artist the same for playthrough Beats 1 as an individually streamed song?
We don't know this. I would assume at least comparable, if not more. Radio royalty rates have been long negotiated, and even streaming radio rates are different than straight streaming rates that are different than other rates, TV rates. Like there's a whole different rate system, and we are unfortunately not experts at depending royalty rates. They are getting paid for plays, though.
I would just say, though, that if you're asking this as an end user, this really shouldn't matter. If your concern is that you want artists to get paid, please buy their music, because that is the most direct, best way to make sure that they're paid.
True facts.
Steve Arenberg at Serenberg wants to know, I know how to create a custom radio station, but how do you delete one?
Doesn't look like it's possible unless you guys have found a way.
I have not.
Radio has changed slightly from the iTunes radio days where you have like your specific stations. Instead, now with new Apple Music, you've got Beats One is sort of the highlight. Then you've got the featured stations that Apple has built. They're things like the sound system and the mixtape and different genres. Woo! And then I accidentally pressed on one of these things and then started playing it. But when you create a radio station, it pops up in your recently played list for the 4 radio stations, and you'll be able to find that in recently played on the radio tab. And you'll also be able to play it at any time. You can even say to Siri, play my Daft Punk radio, and it will play it. It will remember all of the things that you've loved and not liked, but it does not look like you're able to delete it or able to, say, favorite it the way that you can with playlists.
Can you just keep adding more recently things until it's obliterated from your view?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when you click on recently played or you tap on recently played, it will give you a full list. The list in iTunes only gives you the last 7 that you've listened to, but you can tap on it to see more.
All right, awesome. David Campman, which is M. Campman on Twitter, wants to know, playlists I create on iPhone should carry over to iTunes. I'm guessing he means Mac or PC when signed into Apple Music, right? Doesn't work, but should it?
Yes, I believe it should. This was a long-held problem for a while where playlists, same things with albums and photo library, where sometimes they'd work, sometimes they don't. I believe playlists should carry over and should sync, with the exception of smart playlists, which sadly do not sync over to iOS devices.
Why?
I'm really bummed about that, especially because I use smart playlists for a lot of things, including now figuring out which songs that I purchased.
Smart hard? Because it seems like almost anything that has smarts in it doesn't sync, like even faces or smart mailboxes.
I think it's a matter of search criteria, and right now what they've programmed iOS to do in terms of search is not quite as good as what they've, the search booleans that they have on the Mac. I'm not positive, honestly.
All right, Philly Chief for you, Peter, because I don't know what this means. Will Apple allow you to sync Alec? I don't know if he means FLAC. Maybe he means FLAC files to iPhone with iCloud Music Library enabled. Is there an Alec that I'm missing?
Yeah, there is. That's Apple lossless.
Ah, okay.
So I'm sorry. The question again is,
can you sync? Will Apple allow you to sync Apple lossless files to iPhone with iCloud Music Library enabled? I don't think they do. I think everything gets transcoded to AAC.
Yeah. I don't think that ALAC or any lossless is uploaded to iCloud Music Library. It takes a look at the waveform and it tries to match it. It will substitute it, obviously, with iTunes Match if there's an AAC file that's part of the iTunes library, the iTunes Store library, that the stuff that Ren was talking about a little while ago. But they're transcoded to AAC when they're uploaded, if I remember correctly. So if you use ALAC, WAVE, or AIFF, or any other kind of format, that stuff does not get uploaded in its native format.
And while we have you here, Marty Brown, Mr. 1L3 Brown or 13 Brown wants to know, should he buy a new iMac now or should he wait in case they rev it?
Should he buy a new iMac now or wait?
Yes.
My standard rule of thumb applies. Buy when you need a new machine. Understand that whatever you buy is going to be replaced with a better machine within a period of weeks or months. So just accept that obsolescence is an inevitable part of the product cycle. I suspect that we're going to see an iMac refresh later this year, but that's only my gut instinct talking, not any inside information that I've got.
Depends on Intel. We're going to take a quick break so I can tell you about Text Expander from our friends at Smile Software. The awesome, the amazing, the astounding Smile Software. Text Expander 5 helps you type faster by making suggestions for frequently typed phrases to abbreviate and save time. Text Expander reminds you of missed opportunities to use your abbreviations while you're typing. We use this a lot at iMore, a lot. Actually, when I make the podcast post for this later today, I will type in P iMore show, and it will fill in the entire post with fields so I can put in the episode numbers and the descriptions and things like that, because it literally is the same content all the time. It is just the details that change. And instead of having to remember and type it and make it consistent, I just type a couple things in Text Expander and boom, it just happens. I have that for links that I use frequently. I have that for my address, for emails, for all sorts of things, for the ends of letters, posts. A lot of the stuff that I do is actually comes straight out of Text Expander. I even use it when live blogging, because things like people's names, you don't have to type Luca Maestri or, I forget the name of the CFO before him, but it makes things just imminently faster. Anything that is long, branding names that are hard to remember, all that stuff, super easy with Text Expander. Set a hotkey for inline search, so all you need is a fragment of your snippet to find and expand it quickly. Create fill-in snippets to personalize and standardize repetitive replies. Text Expander 5 adds support for JavaScript. It also works in Text Expander Touch for iPad and iPhone. You can save time, save effort with Text Expander from Smile. So here's what's new in Text Expander 5. There's now suggests abbreviations, making it even easier to find ways to save time. Like, for example, if you type the same thing several times, it'll say, hey, why not make this a snippet? And you'll say, hey, great idea. And it will literally save you time. You can place snippet data anywhere in iCloud Drive or Dropbox for syncing. Text Expander 5 has a new Yosemite look and feel on the Mac. Text Expander 3 Plus has a custom keyboard available for iPhone and iPad. Text Expander 5 costs $44.95, and I know people don't value the price of software anymore, but $44.95 is less than you would pay for a lot of meals if you go out as a family. And you use it for a year. I use it every day, all day, and I've been using it for years. It pays for itself almost immediately, and the rest of that is pure profit. There's only one thing that is more valuable than money to me, and that is time. And Text Expander is one of those few apps that just saves me gobs and gobs of time. If you already own Text Expander, you can upgrade for $19.95. That's for existing users, and it's free to those who purchased on or after January 1st, 2015. Text Expander 5 does require Yosemite, but it is absolutely awesome. If you haven't already, please give it a look and check it out. smilesoftware.com/iMore, or just go download it. It's fantastic. Thank you so much, Smile. All right, so Home Cinema 210 at Home Cinema 210 is asking a question that we've gotten asked a lot. You're in iTunes. You have a beautiful AirPlay button sitting right there on the toolbar. You click onto Beats. Beats starts playing, and the AirPlay logo just runs and hides. This feels like a bug more than a licensing restriction.
This has to be a bug, and let me explain why. If you're working on a Mac and you're using iTunes and this happens, if you hold down the Option key and then click on the volume icon in your menu bar, you can actually change your output device. I've done a how-to on this on iMore before. It's a really cool feature. It lets you redirect all of your system audio, not just iTunes, to AirPlay devices or to any other devices that you've got connected to your computer, including Bluetooth speakers and so on. That works just fine with Beats One. It works just fine with everything. But for some reason, that AirPlay button is going away in the iTunes version, and I don't know why.
It's also, excuse me, it's also available on iOS. You can AirPlay Beats from iOS, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's quirky though, because you can't screen capture iTunes movies or DVD stuff on the Mac, but you can on iOS. It's always been slightly less strictly licensed in some or policed in some ways. So.
Yeah, well, they're hard. It's hard to limit certain areas.
Awesome. So we're getting a lot of questions about the radio thing, but I think we've covered all of it. There's more like why can't I edit stream? Why can't I? think we covered those.
Radio has changed. Honestly, they want to put less emphasis on you creating custom radio stations. Although you can, it's really easy, and using Siri is awesome. But more on For You, more on Beats One, more on your own library.
All right, so Bacon Man, awesome name, Lord_Bacon on Twitter. Do you
Amazing.
need multiple iTunes Match subscriptions with an Apple Music family plan? So does your iTunes Match scale the way your Apple Music sub does?
It does not. iTunes Match
Womp
is
womp.
limited because of the way iTunes Match works. iTunes Match is user ID limited and user ID locked. So if I do something, Serenity at iCloud.com decides that, she wants an iTunes Match subscription. Richard at iCloud.com does not get access to my iTunes Match subscription because it is user ID locked to Serenity at iCloud. So what you can do if you have a Match subscription is you can log into the original device, to the device that you want a family plan on. You can log in with your Match subscription. You can download whatever tunes you want for that device, and then switch the user ID to the other person. But those tracks will not be available for streaming for those people. You would have to download them specifically before switching it over.
And that's exactly what my wife and I do. We use home sharing. So, if there's iTunes Match stuff that she wants, rather than having to log in using my ID, she just copies it from my local library, which is totally legit and the way that the technology is designed to work. So if you're talking about exchanging files between computers on your local area network, home sharing is another option that you might want to consider.
And iTunes Match, home sharing did disappear from it was. I don't believe it was ever in iOS 9, and it's not in iOS 8.4.
Who cares? Max for life.
I have a Pocket Mac in my pocket. Frederick Kleiss at Frederick81 on Twitter. Will Apple Music support Last.fm Scrabble, which is a word so good I want to say it again, Scrabble? Will there be third-party API so apps like Algorithm DJ can implement Apple Music? There is not currently an API. I would not expect an API for at least a while. When Apple does produce APIs, it's usually after a good solid year of internal dogfooding. So I wouldn't expect it. And I think that if there is one, it'll again be hampered by licensing restrictions. And the idea of this is Algorithm can pull in everything that you have from Spotify and let you basically have cloud DJing. And a lot of people would like to be able to do that with Apple Music, but Apple is not always treated the same as other companies when it comes to getting rights for stuff like this. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure what a Last.fm Scrabble is. Does anybody know what that is?
I think it's a type of similar thing, stream playlist maybe, but I don't know. I defer to what Rene says on that one.
So if anyone has the info on Scrabble, just let us know and we'll pass it along. Let's see. Gary, who is new FNUT on Twitter, wants to know, how do I set a sleep timer when using the iPhone app? And then he also wants to know about iTunes Match. We covered that. So can you sleep timer the Apple Music stuff?
I can't find anything that would allow that. I know there are third-party apps that let you do sleep timers, and then it plays your music. So chances are, if you have the music app playing and you use one of these apps, it could do that.
Feels like
that.
A feature request, like we should.
Yeah, yeah, but that sounds like.
Have.
Yeah, exactly. That's something where it might just be a it just might be a feature request or using a third-party app.
So we'll do one of our wish list items on that because podcast.app has it, so there's no reason why. Well, there might be reasons why, but there's no reason why we can't ask for music.app to get that too. Peter just let us know that we're dropping in and out for him, so if we lose Peter or we speak over Peter, we will try to rectify that. So just stick with us. Why can't I? This is Jay Levias at Jay Levias on Twitter. Why can't I find basic playlists such as the top 100 songs on iTunes of specific genre? He does not mean basic the programming language. He means basic as in these are so obvious they should really be there. Yeah,
so those kinds of playlists are very easy to create. You just have to ask Siri. So if you ask Siri to play the top 100 songs in pop, Siri will run them down for you. I think she might just be limited to the top 25, but that's an option. In general, and then Beats One also has a thing called Charts, which plays the top charts. But ultimately, you can make those playlists yourself if you really want. You can look at the iTunes store, and you can actually build a playlist like that from Apple Music. Whether or not you want to take the time to do that and share that with people, playlists are shareable. Hot tip: just press the share button when you're on a playlist. Whether you want to take the time to do that or whether you want to search for people who have done that, that's up to you. But yeah, try search, try Siri.
If you're watching and you haven't got your question in yet, you can hashtag Ask iMore on Twitter or just send it to one of us, and we will find it for you. Aaron at Thread777, he's leaving the music and he wants to know in general, do you think there will always be advances in hardware and software, or will we not find a way to make things better? I think if we look along, what does Tim call it, the long arc of history, we have been improving both software and hardware in various forms for the history of humanity, and I think that we will keep going. I mean, there is a risk that we might hit the singularity and that everything will be invented at once and we'll become transcendent beings and Vorlon our way out into the universe. But other than that, I don't see a reason. Rivers are dynamic; they're not static. You know, like the river doesn't stop. I don't think human evolution, innovation will stop either.
Agreed.
Rob at R Bergeron wants to know: with the latest iTunes, can we add our fave radio stations to the recently played ones?
They all show up in the same area.
Same darn place. Rob 1974 says I'm guessing Apple Music seems to have duplicated all my playlists. Is this a known problem? Anyone have a fix?
So
I also found a ton of playlists. There was a ton of playlists I didn't even know about, and they were empty. They were just like playlist 1, and it was just sitting there mocking me, Ren.
Yeah, so what Rob is talking about in specific is Genius playlists. His screenshot shows Genius playlists. There has been a couple bugs with Genius playlists, especially if you toggle Genius off and on, which can occasionally account in creating duplicate playlists. Currently, the fix is just to delete the playlists or wait and hope that iCloud balances it all out. And sometimes it does. I got a bunch of duplicated songs in my library initially, and then when I checked 3 hours later, they were all gone. So it may just be a processing error.
Yeah, it feels like that to me. Or it feels like, I think it feels like, you know, when iCloud Photo Library came out, you suddenly saw these photos that you'd forgotten about that you didn't even know existed anymore, and it was surprise and delight. This is the same thing. Like, you might have inadvertently tapped a button on one device 3 years ago, created an empty playlist, and all of a sudden it's back and saying, "Hey, look at me!" Because that's what's sync is hard, and there's a bit got flipped somewhere, and it pulled it, and you see everything. It's the good and the bad. Carolyn Segal at Carolyn Segal on Twitter wants to know: will you be able to share your family account with people who have Android phones when they get Apple Music this fall?
That is a great question that we do not know the answer to. I would guess. So, okay, here's the thing with the family plan. The family plan supports up to six accounts, but it also supports up to 6 devices, which is to say that when I enabled a family plan for some testing, I was testing with multiple different accounts, but I was also testing with the same accounts on different devices. And normally your Apple Music subscription, your individual subscription, is limited to one device. So if I'm listening to Beats One on my iPhone, I can't listen to something else on my Mac. But when you have the family plan enabled, you can listen to simultaneous things on the same device. So you might be able to do it that way, where everybody's logged into the same account. However, that leads to everybody's music being mixed up, and that's not very much fun. When it comes to family things, I think we just have to wait and hear what Apple's solution is for that, because family sharing does not exist on Android.
I think this we could make a Phil Nickinson problem. Could very easily become a Phil Nickinson problem. All right, Lady Danielle.
We got 99 problems, but Android ain't one.
Nicely played. Lady Danielle B at Lady Danny9 says, please help. Can I add Apple Music songs to playlists without iCloud enabled? I don't want music I own in the cloud.
Yes, you can. You just do not turn on iCloud Music Library on your Mac. If you turn on iCloud Music Library on your phone and you just want to listen to it on your phone, then that's great. However, if you want to listen to your Apple Music songs on your Mac, that means you're going to also have to have the music you own be uploaded to iCloud Music Library. There's no way to do that.
All right, this Apple Music stuff is a web of complexity.
Yes.
Russ Harlan at Suckeffect, great Twitter name, wants to know how to fix Apple family sharing members who signed up for individual plans when onboarding. Serenity went to war with Apple family sharing yesterday and lost a child.
I created a phantom child account that I now can't get rid of.
You sound like Peter.
Yeah. Well, this one doesn't have to be fed. It just, now it lives on my iPad Mini and it
I will
occasionally
happily
calls.
trade one of my real children for your phantom child if you
That's
would
all
like.
right. That's all right. Russ, so I ran into this problem when actually the reason why I created a phantom child was because I ran into this problem when trying to test this with my boyfriend who had already signed up for a plan. To my knowledge, there is no way to cancel the free trial. The free trial is the free trial. So you just have to tough it out for 3 months. And then at the end of the 3 months, make sure you turn auto subscribe off. I've got a really great article on just how to follow that and turn auto subscribe off so they won't get charged at the end of those 3 months. And then at the end of those 3 months, set a reminder for yourself and calendar, switch them over to family or add them to your family plan. Easy as that.
I feel so bad that you now have this phantom child who just, it seems mean.
Yeah, can I ask for iMore child support? Is that a
Yeah.
thing? Yeah, pay me more for my phantom child.
Phantom money, all the phantom money your phantom child needs. Nick Burgess at Burgess says, "How can I access music purchased by family members in the new music app?"
Well, that's a tricky question. If you have family sharing, you can do this by going to iTunes and your purchase list, I believe, and downloading it from there. But purchased songs do not automatically populate in your library a la Match. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's a brave new world. Jad Rame. I'm going to pronounce all these names so poorly, but I pronounced my own name wrong too, so that's fine. Photos on iCloud. How do I access pics from my iPhone and iPad if I don't want to download my iCloud photo library on iPad?
How do you access pictures from your iPhone on your iPad?
You don't.
Well, no, there is iCloud. There is PhotoStream. There is my PhotoStream. So if you sign up for my PhotoStream, the last 1,000 photos that you have in your iCloud photo library will show up on all of your devices.
No, that's absolutely true.
So you can do it that way. But what I would say, Jad, is that iCloud photo library, you can turn on optimized storage. If it's storage that you're concerned about, you don't want your entire library on your iPad, turn on optimized storage when you turn on iCloud photo library, and then you'll only get a couple of gigs of photos, and you won't have to worry about your iPad being bloated by your photo library. If it's truly that you just don't want your personal pictures on your iPad because it's a work iPad or whatever, my PhotoStream should work just fine.
Yeah, the only slight thing is that will take up space and it won't intelligently manage the space the way that it would with iCloud Photo Library.
And he also had a question about photos in a folder on iCloud Drive and if there's any way to access that on the iPhone and iPad. Ask us again when iOS 9 comes out, Jad.
Yes.
That's my answer to that.
You can download. I just say in the meantime, download Riadel's documents and then open that up and see what they can do with the photos in the folder.
True facts.
Yeah. All right, Peter. Kyle Seth Hug Gray, awesome nickname, wants to know what's your favorite feature so far in Apple Music.
My favorite feature right now in Apple Music is probably the For You stuff. I've gotten turned on to a whole bunch of new music that I had only a passing familiarity with, or maybe a small familiarity with. But these curated playlists have some great stuff, and I flagged a whole bunch of stuff as favorites that I'm going to be downloading soon. So that's probably my favorite right now.
Ren, do you have a personal preference?
It would help if I unmuted myself. Right now, I am really, really loving Beats One, even though that's not technically part of the Apple Music subscription. I'm
it's
really
a happy
liking it.
family.
My favorite feature is Siri, honestly.
Yes.
Is being able to be like, hold on, can I demo it live? Siri, get me the top song from 1970. Okay. And then it says, okay, the top 25 songs from 1970 coming up. And I'm going to stop this so we don't get sued for playing music on a live podcast. But I love the fact that while driving, I no longer have to stress out about not looking at my screen and trying to press next song or be like, Siri, play more like this. Siri, play less like this. Siri, play the Decemberists. And I got so comfortable with it that at one point while I was driving the other day, I said, Siri, play the Decemberist song about sports. and it did not understand me, but I really wanted it to. I was like, I don't know the name of this song, but I really want. So that's my wish list feature.
Siri, what's 0 divided by 0?
Ah,
Siri, what's 0 divided by 0?
Imagine that you have 0 cookies and you split them evenly among 0 friends. How many cookies does each person get? See, it doesn't make sense. And Cookie Monster is sad that there are no cookies, and you are sad that you have no friends.
So great. Siri team is so great.
I just feel a sense of existential despair every time I hear that.
Sorry if I spoiled that for anybody. So there were a couple questions, and I'll just combine them together. What exactly are hearts doing, and is there a way you can find all the stuff you've hearted?
All right, so hearts. I've got this question a couple times too. Hearts essentially are letting Apple Music know what you like and dislike. They're a larger version of the initial bubble feature that they have you do when you start this. And the more things that you heart, the more Apple Music can figure out what you like and build you better playlists for you, build you better radio recommendations in your radio stations. Just make your suggestions much more tailored to you. There is currently no way to find a list of all the things that you have hearted unless you have added them to your iTunes library as well. So if you hearted a song and then you're like, I really like this, and you pressed add to library, you can make a smart playlist on your Mac that shows a list of all of your hearted songs. That's actually that's a line in a smart playlist where you can be like, song is favorited.
So my only problem with this is on iCloud Photo Library, when you heart a photo, it
there's an
favorites
album. Yeah.
So I wish those two things would work the same, because my brain would only have to remember one behavior pattern that way.
I agree. That's a wish list item for me. I really want to see a favorited album or a favorited playlist, because I do favorite things where I'm like, oh, I want to find out about this later. And then I'm like, but I don't have access to what's going on.
Like Safari has reading lists, you have favorites and photos. I feel like there should be some way to like say listen to this later.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, we'll wish list that too. All right, there was another couple of these. Can you heart a band that doesn't appear in a bubble?
Yes, you can. And you do that by going to the artist page, I believe, and either hearting their albums, their playlists, their songs.
So many of our hearts. Russ Harlan again wants to know, I'm still waiting for my Beats Music playlist to migrate. Any recourse? Get out and push? I don't mean to be flippant, but really it's just not working well yet.
Email Apple Music support if you're really running into problems. But Beats Music transference, I couldn't get it to work on my account. I don't know what I'm going to do, honestly. I didn't have that many things stored, and I was impatient, so I just created a new separate account. But yeah, Apple Music support should be able to help you out with that.
Jeff Chillebeck at Chillebeck wants to know, will Apple update playlists like the A-list ones, and will these updates change in My Music? Will they download?
All right, so Apple will update playlists. The A-list playlists that he's talking about are the A-list playlists say that 5 times fast, that the radio DJs, specifically Julia Adenuga and Zane Lowe, have put together. I believe those are stationary just, because they were initials. But yes, you can change playlists, and they should live update. Should. If you've added them to your music, I think they're preserved as is. But if they're still on the service and you just have them hearted, or you have them, you want to go back to them, they should live update in theory. That said, I shared a playlist from yesterday, which I then changed dramatically, and today, people are still writing me about the old version of that playlist. So I'm not sure I'm not sure if that's a bug. I'm not
a cache.
Sure. Yeah. They will download also.
All right, awesome. We did the AirPlay icon disappearing.
Do we want to talk about Family Plan really quickly?
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Ren.
All right, so Family Plans. They're cranky right now. They do not work as advertised, and unfortunately, there's no straightforward steps for people who sign up for a family sharing plan. So here we go. I wrote an article. It will be coming out in about an hour on how your family, like how to set up a family sharing plan with Apple Music, it's fairly straightforward. That said, it only worked, at least for me in my testing, about half the time. If it doesn't work, there are a couple of different troubleshooting solutions that you can try, which involve logging everybody out of their accounts and then relogging them all back in, which is, have you tried turning it off and on again? But seriously, that works. And honestly, the logging out, logging back in until it shows it to you. If your family member has already signed up for a plan, then they are stuck on the free trial for 3 months. So make sure you turn off auto download, and then sign them up for the family plan at the end of that. But you can't add them to a family plan at the current time if they've already signed up for a plan. Once you do get it working, it works flawlessly. It's very nice. But family plan members cannot access matched content, and purchased content does not show up in their libraries. They have to go out and download it themselves. But they will have separate libraries with separate recommendations. And you do want to log in with their account, not your account. Log in with their account into Music, and their account should be listed both in iCloud and in iTunes, to make this work pleasantly.
And if you have an imaginary account where Serenity can transfer her imaginary child, please get in touch.
Yeah, if you want an imaginary 4-year-old, I've got one.
So delightful. It's the most delightful imaginary 4-year-old I've ever met.
It's very nice.
Where did we get to? Oh, so there's also a couple questions about the difference. Is there a difference in Beats Radio whether you sign up or you're just using the free version of Apple Music? And maybe we should talk about what's free. Like, what do you get if you sign up and don't sign up in general? Because I think people are confused about that.
Yeah, so the free version of Apple Music, which everybody has the paid version right now for 3 months if you've signed up for a subscription. But if you have a free, if your free trial ends, once your free trial ends and you decide not to subscribe, here's what you get and what you don't get.
And Serenity has a how-to up that shows you how to turn off the auto sign up if you don't want to be transferred to a page. So
which is totally fine.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna read this. I pull up my FAQ because my FAQ has the full listing, and it's a little bit easier than trying to remember. All right, so if you're a free subscriber, or if you drop down to free, any streaming music will be removed from your library, including matched songs that you've re-downloaded on other devices. You will not have access to exclusive Connect content. This means that you can view Connect, and you can follow artists, but some of the things that they're sharing, like playlists and exclusive songs, are only available to paid subscribers. I haven't been able to find yet whether or not there's like a little indicator that says exclusive content or not on there, but there will be certain things that won't be available to you on Connect, which including, I'm assuming, the playlists that the Beats One radio DJs are making after their interviews and their sets air on Beats One Live, because that's got, that's essentially being able to listen to the show again, and I don't think that they want people to be able to do that if they haven't paid. You're skip limited when you're listening to Apple Music radio stations. So either ones you create your own or ones that you're listening to of Apple's pre-populated. You obviously can't skip Beats One. You do get to listen to Beats One. I'm not sure if you get ads. This is going to be a question because everybody signed up for the free trial. I'm not sure what's going to happen when the free trial
it's in some countries
ends. Yeah, you might get ads in Beats One if you're a free member, but I'm not positive on that. And of course, you won't be able to stream your purchased, uploaded, or matched tracks because you don't get that. But you do get access as a free subscriber, or as a free member. You get access to Beats One. You get access to Skip Limited Radio, and that's it, pretty much. And Connect. You don't get access to For You.
So quick real-time follow-up. Kyle Crow, the one Crow on Twitter, says that you can set a sleep timer for play music. You just go to the clock app, set the timer, and change the tone to stop playing.
Ah, that's a great tip. Thank you.
We'll write that up.
Yeah, we will definitely write that up. Thank you, Kyle. That's an awesome tip.
Yeah, so we'll get that done for you. Real-time follow-up is the best follow-up.
Yes, agreed.
Is it possible to download music from the streaming service for online listening even if you have not purchased it?
Absolutely, if
Yes.
you are a paid Apple Music subscriber.
Doug Harper, Ducky1333, says, I had iTunes, he says Music Match, but I think he means iTunes Match
iTunes
several
Match,
years
yep.
ago. If I get Apple Music, will it load all of what I had before? Will it all magically come back to me?
It will not. iTunes Match keeps a cache of its servers for 30 days. So if you disconnected your service 30 days ago, you might still have a chance, but anything older than that, it just gets flushed from the servers, in part for privacy reasons and in part just because that's a lot of data that Apple doesn't need to keep if you're not paying for it.
I'm going to hope that Peter's connection is holding up and send him this one. Peter, doesn't having limited curated playlists defeat the entire point of playlists? This is from @Scott Lowe. How can 90s pop hits only be 17 songs?
Yes.
No. You know what? I will argue with you about that. No, because playlists, at least for me, playlists are not radio. I don't want to listen to 200 songs in a single playlist. I think of playlists as very highly curated, almost like albums, like compilations, like mashups, where the things are very specifically and smartly chosen to sit next to each other. I think of them like mixtapes, right? You care about your mixtape. You want your mixtape to tell a story. And if I'm just listening to someone randomly throwing in 300 songs of pop hits, why am I not just listening to an automated radio station? Why am I listening to a playlist?
That's my business, not Apple's.
Oh, right-wing musicians.
The one time it gets to an actual debate is the one time where Peter keeps it brief. This is maddening. This is just totally maddening. I was hoping Peter would totally lose it. There's a couple of chairs he could send flying. More real-time follow-up. This is from Brennan Hall. As it pertains to switching from individual Apple Music memberships to family, is this article helpful? And he copied us on it on Twitter. So it is an Apple support article called Manage Your Apple Music Memberships. Change from an individual to family membership.
No, this is specifically referring to the master membership, so the person who is paying for the subscription. So for instance, I signed up originally for Apple Music as an individual member, and then when I started testing family sharing, I went to manage subscriptions and I swapped that over from individual to family so that I could then add other people to my family plan. But that does not help people who want to be added as children or as sub memberships on your family membership, because they don't need to sign up for an additional membership. And when they've already signed up, there's no way for them to cancel that.
All right. Moaz at MOAZZZ, depending on which side of the border you're on, is asking another question that we've gotten a ton, and that is, and I'm going to fold a couple of things into it. We finally got iTunes. I think it was, finally, 12 hours or something later.
Yeah.
We did not yet get an Apple TV update. We did not get a Watch OS update. Apple TV update we need because there's no support for Apple Music in the current version of the Apple TV software. Apple TV, even though it has a bizarre back-numbered software, actually runs a version of iOS. Right now it's running an analog to iOS 8.3. We have not seen iOS 8.4 for the Apple TV yet. I got to assume that's incoming. Apple Watch, though, you have them now playing Glance. So do we need a specific update for Apple Music support?
No, you do not. It shows up on it. It works automatically with 101.
Is it possible Apple had the bits in place this whole time, Serenity?
It is entirely possible, yes. I wanted to go back real quick to Mark G. Davis's. He's asking, is there a way to see radio history like you could before this update? I want to see what I've listened to in my stations. And I believe your individual stations, yes, there's no en masse radio history like there used to be. And you can't see the history of Beats One, which really stinks because I really, really like that. You can, by the way, see your Up Next history, both on iOS and on the iPhone. I'm going to publish a tip on that real quick later today.
And on the Mac too.
Yep, and on the Mac. If you click on Up Next or on the little clock history icon on your Mac, and then you just scroll down, that will show your history above your Up Next. So if you want to see what songs that you've streamed or played from your music library that aren't radio, you can do that very easily.
Ian, I'm going to say this horribly wrong. Ian Fuchs, I don't know. Fuchs. So has anyone figured out how to love a song on Beats? I'm guessing he means heart. On Mac, I can only seem to heart the station, not the track.
This is a bug, and it's the same thing with find a song in iTunes for Beats One. It's a bug. It makes me bummed.
Peter, are you going to fix that?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. Yeah, no, that is definitely a bug.
Tim Flight, T Flight on Twitter, wants to know: rip CD, join iMatch, match song, delete local copy, drop iMatch, join Apple Music, download song, drop Apple Music, song still play?
No.
No.
Song will not play.
Song
unless
no play.
Song no play. Unless you have iTunes Match, your re-downloaded copy will not play. Your original copy, assuming that you did not delete it, please, if you have a cloud service, do not delete local copies everywhere. You should have one canonical copy.
Yes.
If you do not have a canonical copy of your music or your photos or anything else you're storing in the cloud, you are wrong. You are so wrong. Because if something, God forbid, let's say an EMP comes tomorrow and then wipes out everything cloud-based, you're going to be up the creek. Granted, an EMP would probably make a lot of other things really bad too, but I'm just saying, like, keep a local copy for love of all that is, large and fluffy.
Like anything you want, if you have only one copy of a file, it literally does not exist. That is no copies of a file. If you have a backup, then that's still only one copy. You want a couple local copies and a couple cloud copies. If you kept the original CD, and he did not say smash CD in his list, I looked twice, but if you didn't smash the CD, at least you have that and you can re-rip it. But yeah, keep the CD, keep a local copy in a nice safe place, have the copy in your library, have it on Apple Music, and then maybe if it's really important to you, if it's hard to replace, keep it on Dropbox or something else as well.
Yeah. Natalie Matthews.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can you burn the songs from Apple Music to a CD? No.
No.
Sorry. DRM? No.
Peter, have you tried to record them onto a platter, onto a nice piece of vinyl?
Wax cylinders.
The old organ grinder tubes.
Ian Edison.
Anyone else? Does anyone else have these matching issues? It's from Scott Lowe again. Approximately 5% of my library plays wrong song on iOS. I have not had that.
This is a long-standing iTunes Match issue, especially with people who have live versions of songs, where Match will occasionally try and match things that aren't actually in its catalog, where it sees a live version of say a song by Creedence Clearwater, and it tries to match that with the studio version of that song by Creedence Clearwater, or some classical music I know runs into this problem too. This is a please email, ping, or otherwise talk to Apple Music support, because they need to know about these issues. They're not, their matching algorithm isn't perfect, and any additional feedback people can give is great. Matching is magic when it works, and when it doesn't work, it infuriates people because they're like, my songs, my beautiful songs, what have you done to them? You just need to talk to them and let them know, because just complaining about it on Twitter or on The Verge will not make it better.
But direct all your complaints on The Verge to @Dieter or @Backlog.
Yeah.
in fairness to Apple support, I've had problems with iTunes Match eating music, basically, where stuff that I had ripped from CD long ago went to iTunes Match, and then I wasn't able to download it again. When I talked to Apple support about it, they're like, well, can you just re-rip the disk? And I was like, yeah, I'd be happy to. The only problem is my Mac is not one that has
a CD drive
anymore. And Apple support actually sent me a super drive for free to compensate for it. So Apple support will 99 times out of 100 do the right thing if their back's up against the wall and they don't have any other direct way of supporting you. So please don't be afraid to ask them if you run into problems. It can really help out.
Yeah, and along those lines, Casually Norm asked about the simplest way to fix wrongly matched songs. Step one is to delete the re-downloaded copy, not the original copy, the re-downloaded copy, and try downloading it again, and try logging in and out of your account. If neither of those things work, then it's probably a mess up on their server part, and you need to email Apple support.
More real-time follow-up. Ian Fuchs replied back saying, you had my name correct the first time. It's pronounced Fuchs. Thank you, Ian, and you're a gentleman, sir. More family sharing. This is going to be your nemesis, Aziz.
Yeah.
If family sharing with Apple Music is on, does each family member still have have the ability to use Profile with 3 other devices?
Now, I'm not quite sure what you mean by this, the Tech Daddy, so I hope you clarify in a follow-up. I think what they're asking is if your Apple ID still, like if you get something on your Apple ID, can you still use your Apple ID on multiple devices? And I believe the answer to that is yes. Peter, you have more experience with actual, not phantom family sharing than I do. Do you know, like, is my assumption correct on that, Mark? Is it wrong?
I
Question mark.
really don't know at this point.
Like, do your kids have an iPad and an iPhone, and can they log in on both of those?
You know what? I haven't even talked to them about it yet, so I am not sure. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can't. You can only use Apple Music live actively on one device, but in terms of like your iCloud in general, yeah. The Tech Daddy, if you can follow up with us,
Yeah,
'cause we're not quite sure what your question is.
Where did I get to?
Yeah, right
Yeah,
about
the Jason. Yeah, so there's been a lot of people complaining about battery life on iOS 8.4 in general. This is not new because anytime a version of iOS gets updated, some people get better battery life, some people get the same battery life, some people get worse battery life. Often when a new feature is introduced, like when iCloud Photo Library was introduced, you get a significant battery hit, especially in the first 24 to 48 hours, because a lot of libraries are updated and Spotlight starts reindexing, and that is an incredibly hard process. On the Mac, they delay you. You're kind of not allowed to use things right away, and it's plugged into a wall. So that whole process is faster, more carefully controlled, and mitigated by power all the time. On an iPhone, it can hit you really hard. So if you get a whole bunch of stuff downloading, the Wi-Fi radio is on. If Spotlight starts indexing it while it's downloading, then you're having this process running all the time, and that can really drain batteries. So getting back to Jason's question, any idea why Apple Music drains battery so much more than Spotify? And Ren, correct me if I'm wrong, but my gut feeling is either bug that will be fixed, or if not bug, it is behavior of all the daemons that are running in the background trying to keep up with the new service.
Yeah, absolutely. I had this problem with Beats when it first launched, and it definitely got better over time. It's one of those things where, Spotify's had a long time to tweak their iOS app and their Mac app, so the battery doesn't get affected so much. I will say that I've been using my iPhone to stream. I pulled out an iPhone 5S because my iPhone 6 is on the beta right now, the iOS 9 beta, and I pulled out my 5S, which actually has a pretty terrible battery considering that that was my daily driver until I got the 6. And I was just using it to listen to Apple Music pretty much all day the first day before the iTunes for Mac update happened, and I only dropped from 100% to 84%. So I'm suspecting that the battery, what you're thinking is like battery drainage, and that's including, by the way, streaming in the car. I'm suspecting that the battery drainage you're seeing is not actually battery drainage from Apple Music. It's that you're doing a bunch of other things on your phone as well, and that might be largely contributing to the battery drain that you're seeing.
My standard recommendation for anybody who's seeing battery drain stuff with iOS updates is to do a reset. I did a reset on my iPad that was absolutely useless.
What's the reset, Peter? Sorry, just so they know.
Settings, general reset. So back up your iPad to the cloud, or your iPhone to the cloud. Back it up to your computer, preferably as well, and then reset it, and then restore from the backup. That a lot of times can really help out. Not just with battery drainage, but with other really inexplicable, weird problems on these devices as well. Sometimes the upgrades just don't go as flawlessly as we would like them to.
Yeah, I know Allie's old standby was to just connect to iTunes and do a quick restore from a backup, and she said that would fix a lot of her problems. I would also recommend that you actually take the iPhone, look at what the battery number is, turn on battery percentage and settings, look at it, put it down for an hour or two, or you can do it when you sleep, and then come back and see how much has actually changed. Because the other problem is when you get new features, you start using them, and maybe
Constantly.
you didn't. Yeah, and maybe like with Beats Radio stuff, you're looking at it, you're going through, and you're using the Beats thing with the screen lit up, with the radio lit up for an hour, and that's a much heavier load than you did with the iPhone the day before. So try all that. More real-time follow-up from Myrick Patriciak, and it looks like I was completely wrong on the way that I did my math, which is not surprising because I'm mathlexic. But it turns out this is a really bad deal for the UK. It's not that $9 is $9. It's $9 is £9, which works out to,
which is like 14 or 15.
yeah, $15.60. And so why is it different? Why is the EU $11.07? The UK, the typical answer for this, because I go through this with Canada too, is twofold. One is sometimes there are additional fees that are mandated by governments or unions or other organizations that can add a certain amount of money to what Apple has to pay, and that gets passed on to us. The other thing is how prices are determined. For example, in the UK, it's typically got VAT, value-added taxes added to the price. In Canada, I'm paying $9.99. That's the price. But when I get the actual receipt from Apple, there's an additional 15% for federal tax and provincial tax, QST and GST. So I'm actually paying closer to $12, $13 anyway. I just don't see it up front. And in the UK, you do. So when you see the price tag, it looks much higher than it might actually be. So part of that is exchange. Part of that is things are always more expensive outside of the originating country. And part of that is how the tax is or is not included in the price. And thank you for pointing out my rank stupidity. I really appreciate it. Olivier Amiot, I hope I pronounced that right, wants to know, can I use songs in Final Cut Pro that are Apple Music offline songs?
I don't know, but I am guessing no.
I was going to find out, but this question only came in an hour ago, and I did not have time, so we'll test that.
Yeah, we'll test that and get back to you.
Um,
Mention music, we did. Stars.
Yes.
Stars versus Hearts, people who are upgrading from iTunes Radio. Stars versus Hearts, on non-radio songs, when you're not listening to Apple Music radio stations, Hearts, as we said before, are just to let Apple Music know what kind of music you like to listen to. In an Apple Music radio station, not Beats One, when you click on the heart, it will pop up a little menu that says play more like this, play less like this, just like the stars used to do in iTunes Radio. I think in iTunes for Mac that might actually be in the ellipsis thing, and not the heart. I'm not positive on that, but either way, that's the difference between stars and hearts.
All right, so I think unless there's any pressing questions you want to make sure you address, Ren, I think we'll wrap this episode and then get back to the rest and follow up.
Yeah, I mean, we can do. There are only like 5 or 6 more. We can do.
Keep coming.
I know. Quick. All right, lightning round. Best guess that iOS 9 and El Cap will be stable enough to use on a primary personal device. Wait another beta or two. Seriously, I have them.
Don't
I
need
have
them.
it
Don't
running.
use them.
Yeah, exactly.
On a primary personal device, not until release. Come on, guys, it's a beta.
Yeah, maybe let's just stop for 1 second and address this, because we got so many people writing in saying, how come Apple is abandoning developers by not releasing Apple Music immediately in an iOS?
Come on, guys.
It's not for you. It's not for the beta. You don't need to test your apps against this. Yeah. You have opted into a different class of userhood, and it is really not meant for your. It is not an advanced preview release. It
makes me frustrated. Yeah. Family sharing, yes. John Kratz, it's a hot mess. Mike Brogan, if you cancel Match and use Apple Music to download a library on new Mac, all files will have DRM on them. Close, Mike. All files that are matched will have DRM on them. Anything that was uploaded, so say straight tracks that weren't matched to an Apple Music thing, will not have DRM on them. Chris Foote says, do you know how I can add an Apple Music track that's not in my music into a playlist? All you have to do is press the ellipses and press add to playlist. It's easy enough. Marina asks, is it possible to activate iCloud Music but keep a subset of your tracks locally and sync them via iPhone? I believe it is possible to sync tracks via iTunes with iCloud Music Library and versus the old iTunes Match rule, which was like no syncing via iTunes. I need to test this, Marina. I will get back to you on that. Langford says, is there a way to get rid of the recently added section in the iOS Music app? There is not a way. It is existing. That's just going to be there forever. Did iTunes lose the ability to copy-paste album art? I actually don't know. I haven't tested that, Will Kelly, but I can check it really quickly for you. I'm pretty sure that you still should be able to.
I hope not. We use that for the podcast. We'll find out in an hour.
No, I was still able to just copy-paste something. So that is fine. Doug Harper said we talked about that. iTunes Match dropped for a couple of years. Will it come back? No. The effect of the star favorite button, we talked about that. Do you think we'll be soon able to follow regular people and friends just like on Spotify and radio? Richard Seguin, I do think that we will be able to follow regular people. I just think that they wanted to roll out Connect for Artists first. Kyle Crow gave us that awesome tip on sleep timers. Thank you, Kyle. Thomas Fraley said, iOS parental restrictions. Has anyone tested? Does radio take into considerations?
Radio's restricted anyway, isn't it?
Radio is non-explicit. At least Beats One is non-explicit. iTunes Radio used to have a switch for explicit and non-explicit. That's a wish list feature for me. I'm hoping that we'll actually see an ability to switch that on and off for people who want to. But yes, parental restrictions do come into play for other
I'm guessing
other features.
Swapping in restricted versus non-restricted tracks as Zane Lowe is mixing them by hand on a turntable is not as easy.
Yes. And Thomas Fraley also followed up with, yes, Beats One Radio, you can view the DJ's Connect profile, and they list all the songs they play in playlists. I actually wrote an article about that. It's really awesome. James Andrews has a bug with iCloud Music Library. No matter how many times he turns it on, it keeps on reverting to off. That's a launch bug. I've run into that too. It sucks. And Ian Fuchs is saying, oh, well, Apple announced Apple Music at a developer conference, so they targeted towards developers.
Nope.
No. Nice try, but no.
Nope. And Dave Bros says I don't know if this is more of a question or a wish list item, but how do you tell Apple Music you don't like a song?
How do you tell Apple Music you don't like a song?
The opposite of heart.
Yeah. So you can do this when you're listening to a radio station by saying play less like this. You can also say to Siri, play less like this. But there is no unfavorite. There is no anti-heart.
Just like Facebook has no unlike button.
Yeah. Beats Music used to have where you double tapped on the heart button and it turned into an X heart, and a non-heart, and a hate button. Apple Music does not have that, sadly. And yeah, I think that's my list. That's the list.
All
thanks.
Right,
thanks for listening to this, guys.
You guys are awesome. We will keep compiling your questions. We will keep going over them. We're going to be doing full Mac, full iOS. We'll sneak in some watch coverage because we gotta. So just keep sending them in if you have questions. Peter, it's only been a couple days so far, but quickly recap. What was your music situation before, and has Apple Music changed it at all?
Well, my music situation before was that I had over 23,000 songs on my computer in iTunes Match. Like I said, I listen to a lot of music. iTunes Match has turned me on to a lot of new stuff. I'm downloading it, listening to new playlists, listening to the curated stuff that Apple's offering. Beats One, kind of a miss for me. Not really a big deal. The DJ chatter is, quite frankly, kind of distracting, and I don't particularly care about the music. I know that a lot of you like it. I'm not faulting you. I'm not, casting any aspersions on it. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm a cranky 45-year-old man.
Get off my music lawn!
I like my 80s new wave, and that's what I like. No, so just kidding. I like a lot of other stuff too. So yeah, it's great. My big complaint comes from the fact that my primary interface for music is iTunes on the Mac, which is a hot, stinking pile of garbage that needs to die in a fire.
You couldn't have changed the interface, Apple. You couldn't have made music for OS 10?
iTunes 13, that'll be the lucky number.
Yeah, seriously. Maybe an El Cap.
What about you, Ren?
I am a big fan of Apple Music so far, even with the bugs and with the inconsistencies. I think DRM for match tracks really sucks, and I wish that you would they matched it with their iTunes Store catalog instead of their Apple Music catalog, but I understand why that it was done and why it has to work like that. Just keep iTunes Match. I am loving Beats One, and I'm really excited that we're ending this podcast before noon so that I can catch Zane Lowe's show, because I've really been enjoying what he's been playing so far. Also, the guy's just so enthusiastic about everything. It's delightful. I'm like, yay! Yes, make me more enthusiastic about working. This is great. You said, all of them sound so excited right now. They're like, oh my god, this is the best job ever. And maybe that will die down as time goes on. But for now, it's why I watch Sorkin shows. It's the excitement of everybody loves their job and they're so happy to be here and they're so excited about all of the things that they can do. So yeah, I'm digging it. I'm having fun. I've already downloaded a bunch of stuff to listen to, and found a bunch of new artists, and I'm having a good time.
Always on worldwide Beats One.
Oh,
great.
Beats
So
One.
Live from Cape Cod, New England, and Montreal. Great. James Leary, I'm going to quickly sneak this in because we got it under the wire. If the mini player is not showing when reopening the music app, so the mini player dies if the music app dies, can you continue what you were previously listening to? In my experience, only if you can get it back and now playing. Otherwise, you got to just go back and find the song again. All right, so that brings us to the end of this rapid-fire, in-depth QA on Apple Music. Drink 'em if you got 'em, folks. We will be back next week with another exciting show. In the meantime, Peter Cohen, if people want to follow you and sort of continue to hear your feelings on Beats One, where can they go?
Flarg on all the social things, FLARGH. Flarg on Apple Music, too, when that stuff finally gets exposed. And what else? Oh, yeah, on iMore every day, of course.
Ren?
Saturn at Twitter, on Instagram, and on Apple Music. at iMore for all of your Apple Music related questions, probably for some time to come, and deep in the throes of streaming services.
So it seems, just to clarify this, because it seems like I confused a couple of people, iOS 9 is getting Apple Music. Eddie Q himself has said that it'll be next week, the usual beta cycle, which means probably Monday or Tuesday we'll get the beta. I think it's beta 3 this time. It'll have Apple Music. Everyone will be happy. TBD on Apple TV, and Apple Watch does not require an update. So the only one we don't know about yet is Apple TV updates.
Mm-hmm.
So same as usual. Nothing new there. You can find me at Rene Ritchie. You can find all of us at iMore. You can find us on iTunes. If you haven't already, please go there. Please leave a review. Please leave a rating. It helps iTunes discover us, promote us, and that gets us more wonderful audience members like you. If you want the video version of this show, so you can see Ren sharing her screen, for example, or you can see all the cool gear and apps we do on the Select All shows, then that is youtube.com/iMoreVideo. You can check both of those out. We've been moving the schedule around quite a bit lately. That'll probably continue in the summer because we had Canada Day yesterday. We have 4th of July Observe tomorrow, and sometimes there's events and move it around. But we'll, if you do miss the show live, we love having you live. But if you do miss it live, then you can always find it again in iTunes or on YouTube. Peter, Serenity, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I want to once again thank lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. They sponsored the show. They are awesome. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/iMore. That's lynda.com/iMore. And you'll find us again 24/7 on iMore worldwide.
Oh, God.
Always on.
I'm so sad right now.
He hates this almost as much as he hated the gold iPhone.
He hates everything. That's all right. Goodbye, folks.
Bye, everybody.